Thank you, John, for that introduction. It's a great day to be at Shad planking. I want to take a moment, though, as I'm sure all the speakers will, and acknowledge the first anniversary of the tragic events at Virginia Tech. I know that while we're here, a piece of all of us, and our thoughts and prayers are with those that was touched by the tragedy. I think that event reminds us that life is precious and that we've got to value family, friends, and traditions. And here today, at the ultimate Virginia political tradition, the Shad planking, where occasionally we may spar and joke a little bit, I hope we'll also remember that our political differences pale in comparison to what binds us together, first and foremost, as Virginians and Americans. But in the tradition of Shad planking, let's get back to Virginia politics.
Good politics.
Good politics. Now, I got to tell you, John, I agree. I looked at this lineup here, and I felt a little outnumbered.
That's right.
Two Republican candidates running against me for the nomination for the Senate seat. And I was just introduced by the chairman of the Virginia Republican Party.
That's the good part.
Now, John Hager and I have been friends for almost 20 years. We worked together on the Virginia Health Care Commission. He served in my cabinet in the Office of Commonwealth Preparedness. Now, I know, John, that there's some in the GOP that are giving you grief for working for me or working with me. So Republican activists, listen up. Listen up here. John Hager always wore his Ronald Reagan button to every cabinet meeting. And he always sat on the right side of the cabinet table. And let me assure you, if that wasn't enough, I cannot think of a single action that would show more commitment and devotion to the Republican Party than allowing his son to marry into the president's family when the president had 28% approval ratings. Now, I can't imagine that it would be an easy job being chairman of the Republican Party and Governor Gilmore and Bob Marshall are competing to see who can be the most conservative. Governor Gilmore ran for president as the one true conservative. And Bob Marshall, let me assure you, has spent his career in the General Assembly proving those conservative credentials. You know, politics can be a funny business, Virginia politics especially. I have to tell you in all truthfulness, I would never think I would see the day when either Jim Gilmore or Bob Marshall would be accused of not being far enough to the right. Now, this is an important political year, an important year for our nation. We're going to elect a new president. We're going to elect the members of the House. We're going to elect 33 senators, one here from Virginia. And let me be the first to say how much all Virginians, all of us, regardless of our political affiliation, will miss John Warner. He served this Commonwealth and this country. He always put the interest of Virginia and America first. And I got to tell you, I'm proud to call him a friend. Of course, some of you, it was one of my earlier Shad plankings, may remember that I actually ran against John Warner back in 1996. I got the silver medal. You know, I was the cell phone guy from Nova running against a Virginia political institution. But as you know, we had the same last name. So our campaign that year thought, how can we tell the difference? Our one great idea was we had this bumper strip, said Mark, not John on it. The problem was, a lot of places I would travel around Virginia, people come up to me, look at me and say, I see that bumper strip. Is that a biblical reference? Well, I got to tell you, this year, we're not sure who our opponent will be. So we've come up, in an effort to be fully prepared, no matter what happens, with a new bumper strip. And guys, I think you'll like it. Mark, not Jim Bob. Governor, you think that might be viewed as a country music reference this time? But you got to be prepared. Matter of fact, when I was governor, some in Richmond, particularly in the press corps, said I had a tendency sometimes to be a little, well, too intense, maybe a little over-prepared. Maybe that explains the signs on the way in today. I assure you they will be coming down and being reused. But I guess after all those signs going up, so much for the Sierra Club endorsement. But I will be going after every Virginian to ask for their support in this job application process. I want to serve in the United States Senate because I think this is a defining moment for our nation. I'm 53 years old. I can't think of a time when our country has faced more enormous challenges simultaneously than right now. We see new threats to our security, threats to our energy supply, threats to our economy. And you and I both know that countries like India and China are not playing for second place in a 21st century economy. And I don't know about you, but I believe that what's coming out of Washington isn't getting the job done. Now, if I have the honor of being hired as the next United States Senator from Virginia, my goal would be to go to the United States Senate and try to form a coalition of 10 to 12 senators, bipartisan, and create the radical centrists. Because at the end of the day, that's the only way we're going to get the kind of transformative change that this country needs. You know, I'm a Democrat. I'm proud to be a Democrat. But I don't think the American public trusts either political party enough to write them a blank check. And I, for one, believe this is one of those moments in our history when we've got to take off our Democrat and Republican hats and be Americans first to get our country back headed in the right direction. And I got to tell you, it was the way I tried to govern. Reaching across the aisle and finding bipartisan solutions. And I'm proud of that record, where Virginia was named the best managed state in America. And if we're going to get our country back on the right track, particularly in Washington, we're going to need that same effort to realize that good ideas don't come with a D or an R attached to them. So I look forward to a spirited but respectful campaign. And come January 2009, if I get hired, I hope to be part of that radical centrist group that helps push or nudge that next president, whoever it is, to act in that way. Because I don't know about you, I want, again, not only to be proud to be an American, which we all are, but we need to be proud of the direction our country's headed. Thank you. Thank you for having me. God bless you. I look forward to seeing you out on the campaign trail.